And welcome back to the Over 40s Fitness Podcast. My name's Tristan Lowe, and it's here we are now, late July 2024, and the subject of today's topic is a short one. It's about weddings, okay? And the reason being, I had a conversation with a client of mine who, in their profession, they have the facilities and the structure to host weddings, grand scale weddings, and it got me thinking. Years ago, a long time ago, 20 years ago, possibly, up to 20 years ago, I worked in an office in Doncaster, and I think it was every Thursday or Friday, a newspaper, the local newspaper in Doncaster would come out, and I think it was called the Doncaster Free Press, and a couple of people in our office there would go and get the newspaper, and it would circulate amongst myself and all the other lads and one or two of the girls that worked in the office. And we look at what happened in regards to sports, local news, and I think if memory serves me right, there was always a 1 to 2 page section of people in Doncaster. We're talking late 90s to sort of mid 2000s that were in the throes of getting married. Superb, lovely, everyone was happy. But the laughing point we always had between us was how sometimes when they showed the pictures of people's special day, their big wedding day that cost anything between 10 grand and 30 grand a hit, was the alarming amount of visibly overweight grooms and brides in the photos. And it wasn't just one occasion, it was more often than not, that in these glamorous wedding photos that would cost a fortune just to actually take the pictures, there would be sometimes 9 out of 10 of the photos, there would be a grossly overweight or morbidly obese bride with a grossly overweight or morbidly obese groom, or sometimes one or the other. And of course, there was always the comments in the office about, well, that one was going to last a week, that one's going to last 2 weeks, okay. But it got me thinking. I've not thought about that again until recently, after having a client who talked about weddings and the cost of them. And I thought some people, by physiological definition, are unfit for a wedding. Okay, they're unfit, physically unfit to walk down the aisle. Now that may be a very, very, very difficult conversation for some people. Even the thought process of it, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, everyone's a winner, and that will only get you so far. Now, if that existed in Doncaster, and I imagine it still does, possibly even more so now, I imagine that spreads throughout the rest of the UK as well, where every hour of every minute of every day, someone's getting married, and one, if not both of the parties involved, the bride and or the groom, are visibly unhealthy, okay? And that's excluding from smoking, tobacco, narcotics, alcohol, junk food, processed food, poor sleep. We're talking about walking down the aisle on your special day in front of friends and family, but the groom or the bride or both haven't actually had the emotional intelligence and the self-discipline to get themselves healthy. At the very least, to spend 6, 12, weeks, half a year or more getting themselves physically healthy for a very, very important special day in their life. And it's actually an important special day in other people's lives as well. But to actually think it doesn't matter, for the groom to think it doesn't matter, my bride is going to take me 5 stone overweight with poor cardiovascular health, musculoskeletal disease, type 2 diabetes, the onset of coronary heart disease, and vice versa. So the idea of not fit for your wedding, again, is a very uncomfortable and I imagine a difficult subject for some people to even comprehend. I've actually trained myself as a personal trainer. I've trained brides and grooms, leading up to their big day, and the effects were fantastic. They lost a lot of weight. The groom would actually lose some weight. He would lose the double chin, lose the beer belly, get himself fit, looking great in a suit. And the bride would drop 2 or 3 or 4 dress sizes, look really good, look really slim, healthy and feminine for her special day. And I still keep in touch with 1 or 2 of them. and they've maintained that, even after getting married, and some having children as well. So hats off to them, fantastic, good for them. But of course, there's a society now, not every occasion, but on a lot of occasions, liberal media would try and hoodwink a potential bride and a groom into believing, or even subscribing mentally, physically, emotionally, that it's okay to be unhealthy when you're getting married. It's okay to be physically overweight or grossly overweight or morbidly obese on your wedding day. And that is becoming the norm in the UK, which I imagine then is the norm in other countries as well. So the subject of looking after our health, I've always said that when I've trained people, I've had a woman come in for a consultation, I'm sometimes a guy, but more so when the women come in for consultations, they know someone that's getting married, and the potential client will call her Sharon or Kerry or Lisa. I'm just making names up, by the way. They come in and they'll say that they want to get fit, they want to lose some weight, they want to feel better, look better, sleep better, eat better. And during the consultation, there's at least once or twice a year. And the reason they want to do that, yes, there's the health aspects of it, but because their friend is getting married. Okay, so a woman that comes for personal training to lose weight and excess unhealthy body fat wants to do that for their friend's wedding day. They're not getting married, their friend's getting married. So they've decided to get healthy because a friend or a work colleague or a family member that year or the following year is going to walk down the aisle. And I used to think that was quite an absurd idea or process towards it, thinking you've decided to get healthy because somebody else is getting married. But then I started to think, well, if that's the catalyst to get that woman client, get that 25, 35, 45-year-old woman stronger, fitter, healthier and better in every way in her life, if her friend's walking down the aisle, which has made her want to look good on that special day in front of all those people, even though it's not her wedding, if that's what it's going to take, then great. I've actually changed my mindset on that as well. Because if that's the case, then that woman who's lost all that weight for her friend's wedding, she might keep that weight off. She might think, you know what, I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed feeling better, looking better, moving better, sleeping better. I've enjoyed, believe it or not, getting attention. You know, she might have enjoyed getting attention from friends and family and even complete strangers if she's turned her life around and looks better. Okay, and the same goes for grooms as well. Men that actually will propose to women and walk down the aisle 6 months or a year and a half later, but they are physically unhealthy. They've not done the work. They want that woman to be their wife, but they don't care about their health. So they're saying then that to that potential bride, you take me as your husband and someone who's going to give you children and someone who's going to, bear you children and start a family with, okay? But I'm overweight, I'm fat, I'm lazy, I smoke, I drink too much alcohol, I eat processed food, I spend my night time flipping through TV channels wondering why my health isn't good. There's a lot of men out there that do that and they think that's the way to go forward. That if that bride is going to marry them overweight and unhealthy, then that potential bride or that bride is always going to stick with them, okay? Now, I've always said, I understand the phrase, misery loves company, and that's why we see so many now, bride and grooms on their special day. Remember, that day they've spent a lot of money on fancy clothes and jewellery and booking venues and cars and all that attention, but they don't care about their health. All they care about is the attention for that day, or the days leading up to it, the weeks and months leading up to it, and possibly a little bit of residual attention after, with all the photos and what have you. Fantastic, great. But it's a very, very narrow-minded, short-term way of thinking to believe that if you get married to someone on your special day and you're overweight and unhealthy, then they're always going to stick with you, okay? I myself, I've gone through a divorce and I wasn't overweight or unhealthy. I was in great shape. So if that can happen to someone who's fit and physically strong and healthy and in control of their body and their emotions and their decision making, someone like myself, that is far more likely to happen to somebody, okay, to go through a marriage, a separation and a breakup and a divorce, okay, which is the norm now, that is far more likely going to happen to someone who's physically unhealthy. And I'll tell you where I see it, and I hear it a lot. And that's where either the bride or the groom, and subsequently the husband or the wife, one of those two parties, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, a year, 2, 3 years down the line, starts getting physically healthy, okay, and the other one doesn't. That's like the guy goes out, starts lifting weights, swimming, eating healthy, boxing, going to play sports, loses the weight and gets himself in great shape. But now the wife doesn't and comes up with 78 excuses why she doesn't. And often one of those excuses will be, you married me fat and overweight and lazy and out of shape, and therefore you should stick with me. You should stay with me until we both keel over. Touch wood, knock on wood, that's hopefully not for a long time. But that can work on the other side as well. I've recently seen a married woman, okay, all over the internet, who's got herself in shape when her husband is fat, overweight and physically lazy. So that disconnect between the two parties can expand because one person starts feeling good, looking good, getting attention, okay? The other one doesn't. And natural history takes over. Biology and physiology at some point will take over, whereby one of those two parties, the one who's not looked after themselves, will start thinking, that's not fair. Why is my wife, or that's not fair, why is my husband looking after their health and getting fit and healthy and losing weight and taking up running or swimming or martial arts or Pilates, yoga or weightlifting, okay? Why are they doing that, you know? So my advice as a trainer, okay, with a lot of experience behind me, is do not take your bride or your groom for potential for granted before your big day. Don't walk down the aisle fat, lazy, out of shape, obese, morbidly obese, okay, and smoking alcohol and think, you know, everyone's still going to like me, even though I don't care about my health. And the probability is, if you're looking to start a family, then you're not going to care about your son's or your daughter's physical health because you don't care about your own as well. How many times do we see brides or grooms that have already got on the big day, they've already got children, yeah, they've had children before they've got married, okay, and already the children are getting fat because the father doesn't care enough. He cares about cars, or he cares about what's on television, or his local football team, or who's doing what around the corner. He doesn't care about his health, so by extension, he's going to make sure that his children don't care about their health as well. And the same with the bride. Brides and subsequent wives who are overweight and unhealthy, and they feed their children bad food as well. So their children are overweight and unhealthy. That's why you see so many fat children now at weddings in all little fancy outfits that they've paid hundreds of pounds for, and you've got an obese child running around overweight, yeah, full of processed food and sugary drinks because the parents will put that on the child as well. So difficult conversation today, but someone's got to have it, and I'm fine having this conversation. I would urge you that if it's your big day this year, have a great time. Everyone should be healthy and happy on their big day. Do something about it. Don't spend thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds on cars and jewellery for the bride, or fancy clothes and cigars and watches for the groom. You know, don't spend all your money on fancy, flashy clothes to walk down the aisle so someone else can eat a big slice of cake on your big day. Spend that money on your health, yeah? Have a smaller wedding that costs less money and spend your time. Join the gym. Go and get a personal trainer or a therapist or a dietitian or nutritionist. Start swimming, start walking and weightlifting. Be healthy on your wedding day. You know, you'll thank yourself, you'll thank your wife, your husband, okay, for joining you on that quest. That should be part of the build up to your wedding, okay? Not fancy jewelry and fancy clothes and shiny cars and venues that you can't afford, yeah? And if you can afford all that, fantastic, I can learn something from you about what to do with money. But what I can tell you is, it is a false economy, yeah, to try and convince yourself or hoodwink your friends and family and a local paper when you have your pictures put in it that you're walking down the aisle and you're really happy, even though you are overweight, out of shape, lazy, you're physically weak and hooked on bad food and alcohol. Yep, uncomfortable conversations. All right. Next one's going to be a nice one that we can all laugh with. All right. So my name's Tristan Lowe. The podcast is Over 40s Fitness with Tristan Lowe. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts. Excuse me. I'd like you to comment and subscribe to the channel. And if the comments that you make are both positive, negative, or neither, neutral comments, something where you're just asking a question, I'm happy to answer those difficult answers. I'm happy to answer those difficult questions. And so pose a question and fire away. All right, until the next time, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Good luck with your big wedding day. Bye for now.